Welcome, everybody, to the Neutral Zone Infraction Northwest podcast. I'm Drew, and I've got a show today. What a crazy, crazy game on Sunday Night Football. Seahawks, Cardinals. I have so much to talk about regarding that game, regarding us and our division rivals. I've got a jam-packed show for us today, so we're going to get right into it. First thing I'm going to do is go over my Week 7 in the NFL recap. There was a lot of crazy stuff that went on besides that crazy Seahawks-Cardinals game, and, I'm just going to give you a couple highlights. The Chargers won a crazy game in overtime against the Falcons. It was a real high-scoring game, and it really kind of exposed the Falcons' defense as being, not awesome. I mean, Phillip Rivers and the Chargers can put up some points, but they're not what you would consider a high-powered offense. And with the Falcons as one of the NFC contenders, really somebody that the experts and even myself think could be a legitimate factor in the playoffs, there are some high-powered offenses that could give them some problems. Most of the high-powered offenses are in the AFC, but, that could be a factor going forward. They missed a field goal that would have won them the game. Isn't that the story of the week as well? So a lot of crazy things going on in that game, but the Falcons lost, which really helps the Seahawks. The Vikings offense kind of showed how bad it could be. Their defense was phenomenal. Again, they were really good. They played really well against a Philadelphia team that's been putting up some points on some people as well. Carson Wentz did not look good at all, and I attribute that a lot to that Minnesota defense, who's young, good, and really there was one point where the Minnesota got a interception. There were like 100 turnovers in that game on both sides. It was crazy, but they basically put the ball on the doorstep of the goal line for the Minnesota Vikings, and Sam Bradford and the offense couldn't punch it in. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't pass the ball. It really looked bad for that Minnesota offense. So they're no longer undefeated. No more undefeated teams in the NFL right now. So, it's kind of an even board for a lot of people, especially at the top of the NFC. There are obviously the Vikings, and now the Cowboys are ahead, but it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. Packers offense on Thursday night against the Bears, they looked quite a bit better. They put up 30-plus points against the Bears, so that was a good game for them to kind of – it seems to, with Aaron Rodgers especially, be the Packers will play a bad game, they'll play a mediocre game, and then he'll be like, relax, and then – they'll put up a crazy amount of numbers. And, of course, the Bears defense and the Bears team in general is not good at all. So I would be interested to see them do it against a tough defense. But, again, their schedule is like a slice of lukewarm chocolate cake. It is so easy. So they might not face that. Of course, they do play the Falcons this week, but that's not exactly a defense that you're afraid of, like I just mentioned. The last little piece before I get to the Seahawks-Cardinals, which I'm chomping at the bit for, honestly. Jay Ajayi, the running back, and that's a hard one to say. I think I said it right, but I'm not 100 on that. Sorry, guys. He rushed for 200 yards again this week. That is back-to-back 200-yard rushing games, and that's only the third time that it's happened in the NFL. One of the previous people to do it was none other than O.J. Simpson, who was a pretty good running back and pretty good runner in his day. So that's pretty crazy. Arian Foster retired, so I mean it's Jay's backfield. So as long as he can keep doing what he's doing, he did it all over the Buffalo Bills, who have a pretty strong defense with Rex Ryan. So it's pretty crazy, but good for him. The Dolphins might, mix things up in the AFC a little bit. Still don't think they're making the playoffs. I think that's too much of a stretch. I don't think Ryan Tannehill's good enough. I suspect Adam Gase makes a change at quarterback next year. Okay, here we go. Arizona, Sunday Night Football. What a crazy game. One of the craziest games, not the craziest, but one of the craziest games I've seen personally as a Seahawks fan. The offense was horrible. I mean, our offense was bad. Theirs was mediocre. But 6-6 tie, a 6-6 tie. First of all, that's the lowest scoring tie. That's the first tie in Seahawks history. I wasn't expecting a tie because the last tie was 2 years ago, and there have only been a handful since they changed the overtime rules every so often. And the overtime rules previous to this kind of made ties a lot harder because there were multiple overtimes that you could get to. But this one, having just the one overtime, makes it a little bit easier, although very rare tie. I mean, there were missed kicks, there were blocked kicks, there were just atrocious offense from the Seahawks. It was bad. But let me tell you this. I've had people tell me, and people come up to me, and people text me and put memes on Facebook, and it's all like, that was the worst game I've ever seen from the Seahawks. They just played like crap. No, they didn't. The offense played like crap. The defense played the best I've ever seen any defense ever play, ever. 100%. I will stand by that. I will die on that hill. The best any defense has played ever. And I'm going to tell you why. They were on the field a total game minutes 46. 46 game minutes. They were dog tired. Kelsey McCray played something, the safety who filled in for Cam Chancellor, including special teams and the defense's plays. He was on the field. He was on the field for 103 snaps. 103. That is crazy. A Herculean effort from the defense to give up 3 points in regulation when they go for 400 yards and they have the best all-purpose running back in the NFL right now in David Johnson. He couldn't rush, really. He couldn't get more than 3 yards a carry, but they kept pounding him in there. That is tiring for a defense. Those guys were on the field. The offense would go 3 and out, and then they were on the field again. And these Arizona Cardinals were doing long, sustained drives. They couldn't get off the field because of penalties a lot of the time. But what an insane effort from that defense. Absolutely crazy. And that's without Cam Chancellor. Frank Clark came back, and he was a big factor. Man, Cliff Averill, whew, what a game. Yeah, you'll be hearing his name later. Richard Sherman, can you imagine covering Larry Fitzgerald for 46 game minutes? Larry Fitzgerald, Arizona Cardinals wide receiver, first ballot Hall of Famer, without a doubt. He's still got years left. He's got in the gas in the tank. I can't even talk. Richard Sherman, high five to you. He was just dog tired after that game. I guarantee it. Go do 80 wind sprints with the fastest dudes on the planet for over the course of 3 hours and tell me you're not dog tired. Crazy. Hats off to the defense. Best game, best effort I've ever seen. Well done. So, the offense. They had an atrocious game. That's the worst I've ever seen the offense. Now, I'll give it to people because, that's what most people see, and that's what people kind of gauge games on a lot of the time is how your offense is performing, the score at the end of the game. And if you gauge it on that, I agree. The Seahawks had a really, really bad game. They couldn't convert third down. They couldn't catch. They couldn't run. Russell Wilson was under siege. The offensive line had a terrible game, particularly the tackles. They were an insane amount of holding penalties and just all around poor play from the offense. They got it going a little bit in overtime, got my blood pressure up. Doug Baldwin made a great catch and a great juke to almost get into the end zone at the end of the game. But, when it counted, they ended up getting it done at the end. It was the kick that missed that would have won the game. But, boy, they had better show up a little better, a lot better, against the Saints this Sunday, or else we're not going to have a prayer. you can really tell that Russell Wilson's injury is hindering him. You can tell that he just doesn't have the explosion. He doesn't have the pop. He doesn't have the shiftiness that is classic Russell Wilson and what a lot of what he relied on, especially earlier in his career. Now, he's still a tremendous pocket passer. And still, when he was passing to Jimmy Graham was making all these catches. And, man, get him in the offense. And, it was not a great day for the offense, and there's absolutely a reason for it. That's going to take me right into my not so much love Seahawk of the week. And, oh boy, let me tell you what. I'm not a person who generally believes in, it's the play caller's fault whenever the offense has a bad game. Darrell Bevell, offensive coordinator, play caller for the Seattle Seahawks, has won a Super Bowl, was part of the most prolific offensive stretch for the Seahawks ever at the end of last season when Russell Wilson put up MVP numbers, highest passer rating. We were eviscerating teams at the end of last year. And he had a terrible game. Oh, man. Not so much love Seahawk of the week, Darrell Bevell. And it's easy to point fingers at him, and the reason why is because his humdrum, predictable play calling was not getting it done. It was not. Christine Michael could not rush. Russell Wilson could not get out of the pocket. And there are all kinds of these factors that Darrell Bevell had to deal with. A poor offensive line play, the fact that the rushes weren't working. But, bruh, you've got to adapt. You got to change. You got to go with what's working. We didn't, in the beginning of the game, we passed the ball 6 times before we even attempted a rush. It was all over the place. In overtime, they finally got Jimmy Graham going, but until then, he had 2 targets and was silent as a grave. The dude is a huge weapon. He can catch anything that's thrown his way. He's 4 inches taller, at least, than the defensive backs covering him. He's a giant physical dude who can get the ball at the point of attack. It is insane how good of a catching tight end he is. And he's just going to waste. It was the same story last year to some extent until he injured himself. He got going a few times against some poor defenses, but this defense was having a great game. They were shutting down Doug Baldwin. Tyler Lockett couldn't do anything. We definitely couldn't run the ball. Just be less predictable. Use the weapons that we have, and we have tons of them. 3 and out once, okay. 3 and out a second time, okay, get it going. 3 and out, punt. John Ryan's leg is probably swollen as all goodness, and it's Tuesday for me right now, and it's probably still swollen. He probably hasn't gotten out of bed because he had to punt the ball so many times. Insanely poor day of offense. And you know what? When it's that bad across the board, sometimes you got to look at the top, and that is Darrell Bevell. Okay, now, for my love Seahawk of the week. You'd best believe it's somebody on that defense, but there are a lot of honorable mentions here. It was a great game. It was a great game for them. Don't let anybody tell you. Don't ever tell me that was not a great game. It was a great game. Not a great day for the offense, but for the defense, incredible. Cliff Averill is my love Seahawk of the week. The guy got it done. He got it done. He got pressure. He was disruptive. He was making tackles. He made a couple key sacks. Whenever we needed to, please get them off the field so they don't score, Cliff Averill was there to push them back so that the secondary and the middle of that defense could get it done and prevent them from scoring. It was a great day for him. At the end of the game, he looked peppy, he looked lively, he had a great game. I don't understand how he wasn't as dog-tired as everybody else, but my goodness, he had a fantastic game tearing it up on that line. Now, I want to give some honorable mentions, of course. Tanner McAvoy, Man, anytime you hear that name this year, it's because he made a ginormous play that dramatically altered the game. This time, a blocked kick. Whew. A clutch blocked kick. Are you kidding me, Tanner McAvoy? Get in the game. Get in the game more often, because every time you do something, it's awesome. Tanner McAvoy's honorable mention. And of course, Bobby Wagner flying all over the field, jumping the long snapper on the line of scrimmage twice, and it was completely incidental contact. The VP of officiating for the NFL went out and said that those two plays were legal, even though Bruce Arians cried like a little girl about it. Oh my goodness. You got to be kidding me with that. Bobby Wagner had a great game. And of course, Richard Sherman, I already talked about him covering up Larry Fitzgerald, really limiting him as much as possible. And, Pete Carroll, he had a great day too. I've seen all these posts about comparing the leadership of Pete Carroll and Bruce Arians. And it is a great, comparison to really show what real leadership is. Positive reinforcement. And, you can get it done. You can get it done Bruce Arians' way, where you rule with an iron fist. There's no slack. It's do your job or else. Or you've got Pete Carroll's way. Oh, man, I love this guy. He's our guy. He'll get it done next time. We need him. We love him. This is our guy, Stephen Hauschka, that missed a kick. As a player, who do you want to play for? Honestly. And do you think that has an effect on, how you perform in a game? Yes, you can rule with an iron fist, or you can have positive reinforcement and really raise everybody else up, which is what Pete Carroll does. I mean, both are strategies, but I know which one I appreciate. I know which one I enjoy more, and it really makes me proud that the hometown team is reflected in that light. Pete Carroll is a fantastic coach. I hope he never quits coaching. I hope he's 120 coaching the Seahawks, and I'm an old man, and he's an older man, but still jumping up and down, chewing 12 packs of bubblegum a day, because Pete Carroll is the man. So many great stories, so many great plays, so many great players from this Sunday night game. Coming out in a tie, it's better for us than it is for them. It sure is, especially in the division where they're the ones chasing us, honestly. I mean, the Rams have been showing their true colors a lot more as of late. I don't think it's going to be the Rams chasing us for the division. I think it's going to be the Cardinals. So having that sort of almost advantage, if you will, they're still coming to the clink later this year. And boy, our boys are going to be ready to kind of mess them up in our building. Have no fear about that. What a great game. Whew, that defense. Man. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So the topic of the week this week is really along the same lines. Of course, because of this game, Facebook popped off, everyone putting their memes up saying it was the worst game they've ever seen, and oh my gosh, will this game please end, and oh my gosh, The Walking Dead is crazy. That wasn't about that, but still, all of that was social media on Sunday night. And I got a great question asked to me by one of my friends, and I wanted to do it on the podcast and make sure we get it done right here, because it's a truly great question. Here's what it is. Why do the Cardinals and Rams play us tough? Can we be less predictable against them? So that's sort of a two-part question. Second question, can we be less predictable? Yes. Please, Darrell Bevel. My goodness. Nobody knows us better than they do. They play us twice a year. They game plan for us. When they're playing somebody else, they think about us. Why? Because we're better than them. We've been better than them for the past few years. So when they lay in bed at night, thinking about their record, thinking about the game they're playing, they're thinking about us. They're thinking about the Seahawks. So obviously, they're going to come to whatever game we play prepared. That's why we lost to the Rams. That's why we tied the Cardinals this year. They were prepared. They were ready for us. Of course, there are some extenuating circumstances. Hobbled up Russell Wilson, being, of course, number one. Really bad offensive line. But they know that. They know that about us. So does the league. But, I mean, they know it and can exploit it. They match up the Cardinals and Rams specifically, and the 49ers of old too, against us really well. Every team in the NFC West is tough. We're all tough, physical, defensive teams. Now, I'm 49ers, meh, but they've got some studs on that defense. Navarro Bowman, of course, he went down, Patrick Willis of old, a lot of studs on that defense. Not so much now, but you know the point I'm trying to make. The Rams and Cardinals right now have extremely stout defensive units. The Cardinals have, what could arguably be one of the best secondaries next to ours. They've got the Honey Badger. They've got Patrick Peterson, who's always in the same conversation with Richard Sherman. They've got Dayon Buchanan, a guy from Washington State. I watched him hit in college, and you could hear it in the stands. He once got suspended a game because he hit a man so hard his mom cried. So Dayon Buchanan comes to play. And they've got all kinds of names. Calais Campbell, who really messes up our offensive line. That they're a great team. They're a great defense. And Bruce Arians, he's a smart cookie. He's smart. I don't like him. He's kind of a jerk, but he's smart. And he knows how to exploit our weaknesses. Now, Jeff Fisher, same thing. Smart guy. A little more even-keeled than Bruce Arians. I'm not certain how he still has a job in the NFL with his NFL record, but, the reason is because he's a smart guy. And on their defensive line is one of, if not the best, defensive lines in football. They've got Robert Quinn, Aaron Donald, the best defensive tackle. Hands down, he's a monster. He's crazy. And they've got all kinds of weapons on that defense, which matches well against our offensive line, who is, as much as I love him, pieced together Frankenstein mode by Tom Cable, just trying to make it through. We spend no money. There's no money on our offensive line. None. Bare minimum, bare bones. We have spent our money other places. Signing Doug Baldwin to a big deal so he doesn't leave. Russell Wilson's contract, obviously. All of those big defensive contracts on defense, money's gone. Salary cap extinguished. So we have to make do. We make do with that offensive line. And they know it, they exploit it, and they come in prepared. Another reason, and probably the most important reason why they match up well against us, and why any divisional game especially, you'll hear me talking about it when I pick games. Oh, it's a divisional game. You never know. It's because you don't. The reason why is you come into a divisional game with a little bit more fire, a little bit more craze, if you will, because in a lot of divisional matchups, for whatever reason, for whatever old-timey, whatever wrongs that have been given against them by the previous team, we hate each other. They hate each other when it's on the field during the game. They hate each other. They can all be friends afterwards. A few of them, hold hands and high five, good game. But while the game's on, they hate each other. These are the people, the primary people that are going to either prevent you or help you get to the playoffs. And that's what it's all about. That's winning. It's what it's all about. Money and winning. So the money's taken care of. You get the cash a check from the NFL every week. What's next? Winning. Winning because it's more fun. Winning because you ultimately would get paid more if you win, if you're on a winning team. Proven fact. So you just want to destroy that team that's in your division and going to prevent you from getting to a place where you can win. Now, great rivalries emerge in divisional matchups. You've got, of course, the old-timey Packers-Bears, Packers-Vikings now. You've got us in San Francisco, that unforgettable NFC Championship game. You've got us in Arizona now, who really, America is all like, oh, what was that tie? Why did I stay up for that? You witnessed greatness. That's why. What a great game. What an exceptional game. So you get all these rivalries. You get the coaches that don't really like each other. I'm sure Bruce Arians doesn't like Pete Carroll. I mean, John Harbaugh really didn't like Pete Carroll. Or Jim Harbaugh, rather. I get them mixed up. John's over in Baltimore playing with his purple people. But so there's just a rivalry, there's a dislike that can have an immense effect on the way a game is played and, how it is to the other team. So that really answers that question. They match up well historically against us. They game plan, they know what we're about, they see us twice a year, and they don't like us very much. So please, Darrell Bevell, coaching staff, be a little less predictable. Be a little bit more prepared. Be a little bit better next time we go against them, particularly on the offensive time. Defense, man, you guys eat an ice cream sandwich. You did great. Man, I'd buy you all an ice cream sandwich right now. One ice cream sandwich. Don't get greedy. So that was your question/topic of the day. If you have questions, you can email me at neutralzoneinfractionnw@gmail.com or tweet me at neutralzonenw. Or, comment on this video, on the Facebook post I post, the tweet. Do all those social media things to get my attention. I'm pretty good about checking it. I'm pretty good about answering those questions. So if you have a question, do not hesitate to reach out in that way. All right. I actually made it through that quite a bit faster than I was anticipating I would. Probably because I talked a quad billion miles an hour. So if that's the case, I'm sorry for that. But, just listen to it on 0.75 speed or whatever technology you can work with these days. Okay. So now's my favorite point in the podcast. The time where I get to pick games that haven't happened yet. First, let's go over how I did last week and my all-time stats. Last week, I went 8-6-1. So there's a tie. So that led me to kind of think about, Drew, how do you want to deal with a tie? Do you give yourself half a point? Do you give yourself no points? I'm just gonna count it as a tie. So I know quite the deliberation I had with myself. Lasted about 3 seconds. Lifetime 54-37-1. Not too shabby, if I do say so myself. So let's pick games for Week 8. First game. Or Week 7, rather. Man, I never know what week it is. I should write that on here somewhere. Put it on a sticky note on my forehead or something. You guys are great if you're still listening. Good work. Thursday. Jags at Titans. I like the Jags here. I like the Jaguars because I've liked the Jaguars all year. They let me down against the Oakland Raiders last week, but I'm not going to hold it against them. Anytime you've got a divisional matchup, like this one, it is. They've been doing a lot of these divisional matchups on Thursday Night Football. I think it's on purpose, even though the ones they've gotten haven't been crazy awesome. I'm sure Jaguars-Titans isn't going to be like a real page-turner of a game, but you never know. Could be a lot of fun. Marcus Mariota's pretty good. Blake Bortles, he gets it done. He's got a lot of great receivers. Could end up being a high-scoring game. I honestly have no idea, but I like the Jaguars. Jags going into Tennessee and getting a victory. All right, Redskins at Bengals. This one's in London, so home field advantage doesn't really matter. None of them have to fly a quad billion miles like the Rams did and lost, called it. But they, still have to fly to London and play a game at super early in the morning. I like the Redskins here. The Redskins have been doing quite a bit better, and the Bengals have been really kind of meh the whole year. I don't know really what's going on with them. The Rams were beating them up. Not the Rams. The Browns. The Browns were, in a tie game with them last week. They were making me worried. And Andy Dalton's pretty good. The running game, kind of okay. AJ Green's phenomenal. He had a really lucky Hail Mary catch that kind of broke the Bengals' way, that really poured it on the Browns. But other than that, I think the Redskins are going to end up winning this game in London. All right, Cardinals at Panthers. I like Panthers at home after their bye week. Give them a little bit of time to come together, come to Jesus, and talk about things. They still have a lot of amazing pieces on that defense. I'm super surprised with how many points they're allowing, how many points they're not scoring. They've got so many weapons. They've just had some kind of Super Bowl hangover, so I'm thinking the bye week might help them out. Plus the Cardinals team that just came off a slugfest with us, the Seahawks. So going to Carolina after that, game that's really going to take a lot out of any team, I like the Panthers at home. Next game, Lions at Texans. This one is hard because Matt Stafford is playing great. He's playing some great football. But the Texans are unbeaten at home, and they're playing great football at home. Although this last Monday night, Brock Osweiler is not great on the road. Not great at all. So it'll be interesting to see, how well they do. But Bill O'Brien's pretty good about getting that team, to bounce back after a loss. And they're playing at home. And, you can't count on Detroit, even though Matt Stafford's been playing really well. I like the Texans here at home. All right, early game for the Hawks on Sunday morning. 10 a.m. game, 1 p.m. Eastern time for really nobody. I mean, we're on the West Coast, people. Crazy. I like the Hawks. Surprisingly, shocking. Rest up this week, boys. I hope we do some walkthroughs instead of some practices. Obviously, there's going to be some practice, but Pete Carroll's a smart guy. He knows his defense especially is just absolutely gassed. Saints have a terrible defense. Their defense is the worst. It's just really bad. It's historically bad. Drew Brees is good, but our defense is better. So we're going to go into Drew Brees' house and get a victory. Hawks over the Saints. Chiefs at Colts. I like the Colts here. Colts at home. The Chiefs are good, but at home the Colts can, they can really put up some points. And the Chiefs, while being good, are not consistently good. So, and this one's kind of a shot in the dark. So I went with the home team here. Andrew Luck is good. The Colts, they're all right. Chiefs, they're all right. But I like the Colts at home. Next game, Jets at Browns. This one's harder than it should be. Normally, I auto-pick the team that's playing the Browns because the Browns haven't won a game. But the Jets are in some kind of dysfunction right now. So, briefly, I'm going to take you through it. Ryan Fitzpatrick gets signed, starts the year, throws a bajillion, quadrillion turnovers, interceptions, fumbles, you name it. That Civil War general dude is giving it to you. So he gets benched for Geno Smith, the savior of the Jets, who was really bad until he got benched for Ryan Fitzpatrick a couple years ago. And then Geno Smith tears his ACL, and so now it's Ryan Fitzpatrick again. But a Ryan Fitzpatrick who, at a media conference on a podium, said, "Nobody believes in me. The GM, the coaches, nobody believes in me at all." So it should be fun. If I was going to pick the Browns to win one, I might pick them here. But I'm going to pick the Jets because, come on, people, it's the Browns. All right, Pats at Bills. The Bills have some problems. They obviously let Jay Ajayi rush for over 200 yards. LaShawn McCoy has a hamstring issue. The Patriots are looking solid. And the Bills always play the Patriots tough, but they already beat them one time this year in Foxborough. So I think they used their one magic lucky ticket when Tom Brady wasn't there. I think Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, LeGarrette Blount put some pain on the Bills defense and get it done. So Pats over the Bills. Okay, next we've got Raiders at Bucks. The Raiders are playing really well. I mentioned before that the culture there has, dramatically shifted, and Jack Del Rio's really got that group of young guys really getting it done. And even though the Bucs won at the 49ers this last week, that's not exactly a pushover of a team. I think that the Raiders will go into Tampa Bay and get a victory. All right, next up we got Chargers at Broncos. The Chargers really play the Broncos tough, but the Broncos are a lot better team, and the Broncos are going to be at home again. So I don't think that the Chargers win here. Of course, the Broncos went into San Diego and lost earlier this year, but I do not think that the Chargers are going to end up winning. So Broncos at home. My computer keeps dinging at me. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, it's my iMessage. It's hello, everyone. World Series Game 1 is going on right now, so of course people are texting me left and right, so that's what the dinging is, in case you were curious. All right, next game on my list. I've got Packers at Falcons. This should be a fun matchup. Should be a good matchup, but I think the Falcons get it done at home. The Packers' offense hasn't been that good. The receivers still can't get open. And just because they put up 30 points on the Chicago Bears team that's awful doesn't mean they can do it against the Falcons team. And their defense still has a ton of injuries, especially in that secondary. It'll be interesting to see who if any rookies or anybody in the depth chart of that secondary can emerge and cover Julio Jones. But I don't think so. So that's why I'm picking the Falcons at home. Next game, Sunday Night Football, Eagles at Cowboys. This should be a fun one. A couple young rookie quarterbacks squaring off in prime time. You got Ezekiel Elliott, who leads the league in rushing right now. It's either him or David Johnson, but the Cowboys had a bye this week. I don't know. It's close. Either way, he's got a lot of rushing yards, and he's been really good for them. That Cowboys offensive line is exceptional. The Eagles defense has been really good. Carson Wentz has been really good. This is, another divisional game. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think that the Cowboys, even though they don't have much of a home field advantage, coming off a bye, have the advantage. So, and thank goodness, Jerry Jones, you're starting Dak Prescott, not Tony Romo coming off injury. I think you might have been burned at the stake in Dallas if you'd done that. But Cowboys at home over the Eagles. Next game, Monday Night Football, Vikings at Bears. I think that the Vikings bounce back here. The Bears are not good. They're not good. It's a rebuilding year for them, although they should get Jay Cutler back. I don't know if that's a blessing. Jay Cutler will try to make some throws he can't make. He'll end up getting picked off. I bet the defense has at least 7 points for the Vikings in this game. Defense or special teams, either or, both probably. And I think Sam Bradford will bounce back, and maybe people in Minnesota can ease off the poor guy a little bit. Or maybe he'll be the Sam Bradford he's always been and be bad. Will it be enough for the Vikings to win, go deep in the playoffs? I do not know. But should be interesting either way. So those are my picks for the week. That's my show for the week. Thanks for listening. Again, questions, comments, feedback, neutralzoneinfractionnw@gmail.com, at neutralzoneinfraction northwest. Check out the YouTube channel, Neutral Zone Infraction Northwest. Give me a subscribe, like, a share, tell your friends, or, tell nobody and listen to me in secret because, we're the best of friends. Either way, thanks for listening. Have a great week and have a good night.